Hello and welcome to the review of the Sony Xperia Z5. How much does the latest Sony flagship compare to the rest of the pack? Sony brought out 3 flagships this year, the Compact, the Premium and the Normal. Just like the others, the Z5 packs an octa-core CPU which was awesomely fast. It's one of the fastest chips of the year and that means any task is as smooth as silk. I had no problems when playing even the most intensive games. Switching between those games and apps was equally as smooth. And if you're worried that it gets hot, then don't worry because Sony has done a very impressive job at keeping this thing cool. Those apps and games all play on a 1080p LCD screen. If you're wondering where the 4K goodness is, that particular screen is on the Z5 Premium. That doesn't make the 1080p display a bad display. In reality, it's difficult to distinguish any pixels. There was never a time when I wish there was a bump in resolution, especially without a phone to compare it to. All of this is inside a frosted glass back, which I absolutely loved. The back panel doesn't feel like glass, but I don't know, I just felt so refined and substantial. I adore the look of the Xperia Z5, thanks to the flat design, which I prefer over many other flagship phones. And it's also helped by the minimal logos on the phone, thanks Sony. The great design is also in part due to the omni-balanced look, which Sony has been following for a while now. This also discreetly hides the dual-facing front speakers, which aren't as good as boom sound, but are far better than the regular single speakers many other flagships are using. I had the green variant, which didn't look too appetizing on the box, but in person I grew to love the colour choice. I can't applaud Sony enough for making such an attractive phone, in fact one of my favourites of the year. Another new addition to the Xperia lineup is the presence of a fingerprint sensor. Sony decided to host the sensor inside the lock button on the side. I always wondered why other companies decided against this because it really makes sense. In theory the location makes perfect sense, but Sony managed to annoy me with this. I expected to be able to just tap my thumb on the button, but to unlock the device you have to click the button, which turned out to be really annoying because the lock button is really difficult to click. It's so flush and flat to the device. I couldn't tell if I was doing it right or not. Otherwise the fingerprint sensor was alright and it recognised my thumb nearly every time. Other buttons on the device were really easy to click. In fact the volume controls had a satisfying sound, though a little low for my liking, and there's even a camera button. I wish clicking it would launch the camera, but it never did. Staying with the annoying things with the Xperia, it has one of the worst SIM eject trays in the world. I spent a good 15 minutes trying to pry out the thing with my fingers. You don't get a SIM eject tool, but instead there's a tiny paper flap that you have to grab to pull out the tray. Sony claims that the camera on the Z5 lineup is the best camera on a smartphone this year. Unfortunately, Hull disappointed with the weather as the shots I took were a bit overcast. When I checked them on a computer, I was really surprised because the pictures turned out to be really good. Definitely not perfect, but you can tell Sony has put a lot of time into the sensor and autofocus. They claim shots can be focused in 0.003 seconds, which is difficult to test. Low light shots weren't too bad either, they're not as accurate to reproduce. There were times when a picture turned out to be really good, with the subject coming out with such clarity, while other times the camera decides to just take a completely out of focus shot. There was one app in particular that was awesome which kept me going for hours. It's the AR Effect app, which turns any flat surface into a completely new world. And that's it. I absolutely love my time with the Sony Xperia Z5. Non-premium, non-compact version. It ticks a lot of boxes in the hardware department, has one of the best cameras in a smartphone, and anything wrong with it is too small to get angry about. Thanks for watching.